Hi, I'm Terrell Turner, the host of the Business Talk Library, and today I have a special guest on that is going to talk about something that I think every business should start to think about, and that is when you look at, the life cycle management of your product and your processes, all of those things affect any type of business. So whether you're in a service business or you're in a product-based business, this is a relevant topic for you. So welcome to the show, Jennifer.
Thank you very much, Terrell. I appreciate being here.
Awesome, awesome. Now, what you do is often goes by the acronym of PLM. Tell us a little bit about what is PLM?
Absolutely. So like you already said, PLM is the acronym for Product Lifecycle Management, and it's really all about managing the information of a product and its processes that it goes through to be made. So everything from that first idea or concept of a new product to prototyping, design, testing, production, and also, service in the field. So really everything from first concept until the product is ultimately retired and everything that happens in between.
Gotcha. Now, before you got into, the role and the capacity that you play right now, what was your background before that?
So I've actually been working with high technology products for a very long time. I used to help seed funded technology firms and help get their messaging out and define their product in a way that the market would be able to understand it and help identify who would benefit most from it. And from there, it was just kind of a natural progression for me to start helping directly manufacturers with getting their products out the door as well.
Awesome. Now, something you just said that caught my attention when you talked about, the messaging and really identifying, what the product is, what the product does. Like, do you think that a lot of entrepreneurs are prepared for what the work that entails, or do you feel like they underestimate it sometimes?
I feel they absolutely underestimate it probably 90% of the time. Unless you've done this many times throughout your career, it's a completely new process. It's very common for us to know and understand what our product does and why we think it's amazing, but it's a very different thing to translate that into something that somebody else not only understands, but also then wants.
Mhm. Gotcha, gotcha. So now in the intro, I gave my perspective on that. Hey, PLM is something that is applicable for all types of businesses. And I know you mentioned your background in high tech, but when you think about PLM, kind of what are the industries that you kind of work with, and what are the types of businesses or companies that you think, hey, you need PLM?
Mhm. So traditionally, PLM is used by both discrete and process manufacturers. So companies that make things like cars or planes or medical devices and even food and pharmaceuticals. In more recent years, we have seen other types of companies adopting PLM to manage things like their IT assets, so server farms, the configurations of those different elements that are empowering different businesses to connect to their technologies as well, and even asset management companies. So a company that may have lots of different tools that they're using to make products in a non-traditional way, they're utilizing product lifecycle management to manage those tools as well, and then keeping their service lifecycle up to date. What is actually on that tool? When was the last time it was serviced? What is the anticipated runtime of it before it's going to need to be replaced? And all kinds of new developments in that way.
Gotcha, gotcha. Now, when you guys work with clients on helping them, whether it's implement or improve or adjust, their process or processes, what has been some of the feedback that you guys have gotten after you've worked with a client?
For sure. So we definitely take the time to really understand each unique business, because even in the same industry, companies operate in very different ways. There's always going to be common elements, like they're going to have, parts to manage and people to manage and processes to manage. But to be very specific, in a recent project, we actually helped a very large medical device manufacturer evolve a complex regulatory submissions process. So traditionally, old school paper-based binders, like legit, school binders kind of, and spreadsheets were utilized to track all of the product's requirements and the different deliverables that met each requirement along its development cycle. And these records are maintained and submitted regularly to bodies like the FDA or UTMED, depending on what different types of countries you want to sell that product in. And then they're also referenced back during like an audit process. And historically, a company would have a runner that would physically go from where the auditor is stationed to these binder locations and pull out different bits of information that the auditor is looking to confirm and validate about a particular product and maybe who signed off on it and different things of that nature. So what we did was we went in, dug deep into that process, really understood who was involved across the enterprise, what different bodies externally this data would be touching, and really how it was developed as part of their daily work process in an ongoing way, right? Because those binders and spreadsheets were often developed kind of towards the end as a compilation process. And we took that entire process, digitally transformed it, put it all on the computer, did a lot of automation and other things, and made it so that these elements became a part of the daily work of developing a product, so that all you had to do is, you know, check it off as it went along, attach the deliverables to the requirements, et cetera, et cetera. And this company was able to take that process from a multi-week, fully manual, very paper-based, laborious event to just a couple of days process of validating it, you know, once all of the material was done, to make sure that everything was in place. So it's quite common for a company to recognize anywhere from a 10 to 50% savings in either hard cost or production and cycle times, or you know, things that deal with change management.
Wow, that is an impressive improvement. I know my background is in, like, I worked for years with industrial manufacturing companies like Navistar and with General Electric.
Nice.
And yeah, a 50% improvement would be huge.
Oh yeah, it's pretty amazing, and that's really great that you have direct experience in those environments.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, like I said, my personal background is accounting and finance. So when I came into it, it was something that, like I said, of learning kind of the processes and really working with a lot of manufacturing engineers and you know, individuals that were Lean Six Sigma certified. Yes. And just really, I think the last one was one of my last roles. I worked a lot with cost reduction in the manufacturing process. Mm-hmm. And it was a really hard crash course on learning to think like a system. Mm-hmm. And learning to improve the system of how we operate. And I was like, you know, it was probably one of the most valuable things for me as an entrepreneur, is to learn how systems and processes work.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Very cool.
Awesome. So one question I have is, when you think about, you know, working with clients, is there a common misconception that a lot of, you know, entrepreneurs or business owners have when, you know, it comes down, when you start talking about PLM with them?
Yes, definitely. It's been an evolving business for like the last 30 or 40 years. So depending on where you're coming into this process, you know, you may think of it as just document and data management. So management of things like CAD files, or, you know, requirements documents, or regulatory information, that kind of thing. But it really goes so much beyond that nowadays, with the development of new cloud technologies and low code and enterprises, and almost everyone is working with some type of outsourced company as well, whether it's a contract manufacturer or, you know, just a parts or raw material supplier. And oftentimes companies think of PLM as just within their four walls. And it's definitely well beyond that now. It takes so many moving parts to get a product out the door. And of course, the more complex the product, the more that's real as well.
Gotcha. Okay. Now, if someone wanted to reach out to do business with your organization, how can they find your organization online or find it on social media?
For sure. So of course, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm Jennifer Moore, and I can be reached via email at jmo@Minerva, which is minerva-plm.com. And our website is actually the same, minerva-plm.com. And really all you got to do is Google search. We've got lots of blogs. We also have a web show to help with free education of product lifecycle management content and concepts. So we're pretty much everywhere.
Awesome, awesome. Now, before we wrap up, one question that I like to ask all the guests that comes on, right? When you think about, your field of expertise and you think about the type of value that you deliver to your clients, what's two pieces of advice that you would give someone who is thinking about their processes and their systems and how they're operating?
That's a really great question. I would say to think about, I'm going to take a piece of advice that I recently actually got from someone else because it's so great. Think about whether you're implementing the past or the future. Are you just taking your current process and moving it from one system to another? Or are you really looking to dig deep into the challenges that you're having and how you can make it better and faster for not only the product, but also for the people that work with that product and with those processes, right? So that would be one. And then the other is to seek out some education, right? LinkedIn, books, bloggers, whatever your shtick is, however you learn, there's just so much free information out there to help you kind of get up to speed more rapidly with where the industry is at and what you should expect to be able to achieve with these technologies supporting your people. And then from there, enlist third-party help if you can. There's a lot of really great people out there. Dr. Martin Eigner, John Stark, they've both written some great books. There's excellent, third-party consultants that don't really focus on one technology. They just focus on your business process. So, get education and seek help.
Awesome, awesome. Well, Jennifer, thank you so much for coming on the show. Always enjoy having guests on to talk about their background, their expertise, and to share the wisdom that they have to share. We'll definitely include some links so people can find your organization and find you on LinkedIn.
Thank you so much. I've really appreciated it. It's been great to be here.
Thanks for tuning in to the Business Talk Library. If you like what you heard and you want to hear more, be sure to click the subscribe button and follow us on all social media platforms as the Business Talk Library.